occasion. And as far as I understand, this is the closure of the closing event and closing meeting of the summer school. And of course, I would like to get also your feedbacks on how it went. What have you gained? Have you enough time and possibilities to exchange views and to discuss the matters of mutual interest? Have you found any mutual solutions to the challenges which we all are faced with? And of course, I would be happy to answer some of questions if you have generated them during your summer school time. The only thing I want to stress on is continuing the opening speech and opening discussion which we had together, I think a week or two ago, is that nothing has been changed in the world during this time. And we again, as previously, we don't see any substantial move towards cooperation. We won't see in any substantial joint efforts to overcome the difficulties which the world is facing with. And even vice versa, we see continuation of the separatization of interests. We see the absence of collaborative efforts. We see boycotting of each other. We see again more competition, more contradiction of interests rather than cooperation and finding similarities in the approaches. It brought to the very unusual situation when everybody understands that the solution to pandemia could be possible only if we can combine efforts, only jointly. There's no way, there's no solution which any kind of any country or any civilization can find and then move forward with that. There is no solutions. But what we see is that contracting, the rich countries, the United States, I see, have announced 5 or 6 government contracts with the core producers and companies which are dealing with the vaccines. Russians have announced their own vaccine, and it's already registered even if it's still temporarily registered until the end of this year, provided that the adequate testing of the vaccine will be done during the fall. But nevertheless, Russians have announced, nobody in the world accepted that. The World Health Organization is keeping silence. There is no cooperation between the United States and WHO. There is an institutional lack of means and tools of cooperation and coexisting, actually, because it's not a matter of the institution whether it's good or bad. It might be bad, but it's better to have the bad institution rather than have no institution at all. And now the situation is that there is no institution at all, which can coordinate the efforts worldwide. And the same situation like in Russia, we see in China, because they are testing their own vaccines. The military people have announced thousands of vaccines which have been tested, and the results are good. But again, I mean, it's a separate action of Chinese, it's a separate action of Russians, separate actions of the United States. Again, Europe. I mean, I saw that Switzerland has contracted 2 or 3 potential producers for getting the vaccine first. I mean, again, I am surprised that the world does not understand that there's no a question of getting the first. There is a question of getting a solution, a general solution for a while. Not getting the first. I mean, it's not a solution if you get the first, because if you have a pure neighbor who did not get the vaccine, who will not get the vaccine in a foreseeable future, I mean, you are under the same danger. There's no matter of having this at first or at second. There's a matter of understanding that there's a global challenge, and we have to meet this challenge adequately as human beings and as a world. But I don't see that, unfortunately, and it disturbs me a lot. It brings me to an understanding that a lot of efforts should be put in order to get the world together again, and it's very unusual to fix that the cooperation level in the past was much higher than the level which we register now. And it should not be like this. I think the cooperation level should be growing from the year to year. And by going further, by living further, we have to get the better cooperation tools, cooperation initiatives, and cooperation strategies. And again, coming to Armenia, we see that we're trying to manage the situation the best we can. We, as a landlocked country, we were not so much affiliated to the world market or financial market or global trade. But at the same time, we have our diaspora members in each and every country, and we can share the experiences. We have the information, what's going on in the world, in each and every country in the world, and we can compare. And we can see that this type of a globalized nation can also play its positive role in bringing the world together. And we have many homeworks to do as Armenians here in the country and abroad to help the world to come together, to become more closer. And there is one of the challenges, I think, and the missions, if you wish, which Armenians can help and can develop as one of the goals of the globalized nation. As we want to be, as we actually are, we actually want to deliver our responsibilities, if you wish, towards the world, being one of the core civilizations coming from the anciently. So this is my overall conclusion over the situation. Again, I'm not happy that no positive developments in terms of cooperation have been seen. Again, I mean, the response which the civilized world is addressing towards the challenges which we face are not adequate to the seriousness of the challenges. And I wish you all in your own countries, and I wish us all as a world to overcome the difficulties and to come much closer together, to find out better ways of cooperation, to find out the ways which, when the similarities will be prevailing than the differences, and we will be based on similarities, and we will be based on a common understanding of the future, because it's like a rule. I mean, the future should be better than the past, and if it's not like this, it means that we are doing something wrong, and maybe a big thing we do wrong. The future should be absolutely better than the past and the present, and this is the rule of the development. And if it's not so, then we have to think. We have to rethink our way of behavior, our way of living, our way of thinking. We have to restart ourselves. In our local societies, we have to find out, again, common features and similarities, and try to build a new world based on the cooperation and mutual understanding. This is what I wish to you all, to your nations, to your countries, and good luck. I'll be pleased to answer if there are some questions raised during your summer school, or maybe you want to ask something special. I will be pleased.
Hands to address questions, comments, observations, and then we can open for more casual discussion. If anyone wants to add anything, wants to say, share something, please feel free.
At least your thanks will be acceptable.
So this is the last day. Probably our participants are kind of tired of the summer school. I mean, it took a bit too long for 13 days. This is the 13th day. But yeah, at the same time, so please, guys, if you want to raise a question or to Professor Darpinyan or make an opinion, so please go ahead.
Okay, that means that everything went well, and let's suppose that you get the maximum which was possible during this summer school. And again, I wish you success to all of you. And
Professor, I'm sorry to jump in.
Be in touch. I mean, keep in touch and share experiences and be together as much as it's possible.
I guess one of our participants, Min Ko, has a question to address to Mr. Darpinyan. Min Ko?
Okay, so first of all, thank you very much for organizing this lecture and participating in this event, Dr. Darpinyan. Actually, well, could I give my some kind
Of
of,
course.
could I share my kind of feedbacks or opinions? Okay, so well, actually from this summer school, actually I learned a lot about Armenia and the South Caucasus and the complex geopolitics going on in the region with Georgia, Iran, and Russia, China, EU, and America. And actually, I found that Armenia and Korea, even though those two countries are located very far from each other, but I think those two countries share some kinds of historical experiences and some kinds of similar present geopolitical situations. So Korea also has long history. It's about several thousand years, and then kind of played the role between the maritime and land powers. And then we like Armenia, we compared to other great powers like China, Japan, and Russia and America, we survived. I mean, we try to develop our own cultural ways and then some kinds of political and economic relations with other powers. But Korea also experienced very tragic situations like colonization by Japan and the Korean War and so on. But right now, so even though Korea faced really kind of complicated geopolitical situation between US and China, Russia and Japan, we try to find our own ways to overcome those kinds of challenges. And Armenia also experienced that kind of, historic situations and complicated situations with Azerbaijan and Turkey and some kinds of great power politics. So, but after listening to very interesting, informative, and insightful lectures by Armenian experts, I also think that, great powers cannot solve everything, even though they have great influence over many world affairs, global affairs in security, economy, and cultural issues. But I think that, the concept of power becomes really kind of complex. It does not talk about military or economic powers, which can be materially calculated, but also there are some kinds of different sources of power, like culture, history, and religion, and diaspora, and so on. So I really found interesting that Korea and Armenia also, both countries, even though they are kind of small compared to their neighbors or great powers, but they have potentials to play a role as a kind of bridge between East and West, and between US and China, between Asia and Europe, between maritime and land powers. So it was really kind of interesting to see how Armenian experts and Armenian young participants try to try to be more kind of creative, or try to find some kinds of alternatives beyond great power politics, geopolitics. So it was really kind of amazing for me. And then I also, during the period of summer school, I also read one news articles. It's about one initiative led by Armenian President Armen Sarkisyan, and he suggested that we need to build some kind of club of small states with successful capabilities in terms of innovative policies. So, his initiative is also kind of Armenian and superpower response to kind of geopolitics or some great power pressures upon the region. So Korea is also, we also right now, our Korean experts also try to make some initiatives, which is called mid-power initiative. Korea as a mid-power try to be not just as a kind of balancer, but also as a kind of initiator, which suggest first some kinds of cooperative and collaborative partnership among many countries. So, I think that maybe both Korean and Armenian young experts and scholars may be cooperative in terms of designing some kinds of theoretical or practical or some kinds of policy implications in terms of designing kind of mid power and small powers initiatives, which can be influential over great or big powers. So that's my kind of general comments and impressions, which I learned from lectures and discussions among participants and organizers. So I wonder if, Professor Darvinian or other participants have some kinds of comments or opinions about what I have learned, then I will be happy to listen to them. So thank you very much.
Let's give the floor to Yeria Tashchan. Maybe he would have a suggestion in this regard. So Yeria.
Yes, first of all, thank you for the organizers. I mean, this was incredible and also important because even though sometimes we think that we know a lot when it comes to Armenian geopolitics, but actually we know little because of the geopolitical shifts and so on. So I have actually two suggestions maybe for the coming years. What we lacked was, for example, we rarely touched about Armenia's soft power. I mean, I remember the president, he talked about the Tumo Center and so on. But I think this is important because through the Tumo Center, Armenia is also reflecting its soft power when it comes to IT and also the cultural soft power. I mean, like especially in the Arab world and so on. So such maybe topics were important. And also, I mean, the lecturers, they were great, but also I would also like to see lecturers from the diaspora. For example, when we touched the Armenian-Turkish protocols, it was also important, for example, how the institutions, they lobbied in US or EU against, for example, I don't know if I can say against the interests of the Armenian Republic, because there was a clash between the foreign ministry at that time and also some diaspora institutions. So it is also interesting to know the diaspora dynamics when it comes, for example, a clash of interest between the Republic and the different diaspora institutions. Thank you.
Thank you, Yeria. Those are helpful comments. We will respond or discuss them once we get the insights of all the participants or anyone who wants to share anything. So if there are more people who want to share their observations, comments, please feel free. You don't need to type your name. Just it's a casual discussion. It's an informal discussion. So feel free to just jump in.
Okay. So I just wanted to share my experience with this wonderful summer school. I think that it was incredibly enjoyable and gave me a lot of information about the South Caucasus and the geopolitics of Armenia. To begin with, I wasn't very much accustomed to its main priorities in foreign policy, in its economical and social spheres. But now I think that I have a full understanding of everything going on in Armenia today. And I really liked the structure of the school just because we started with all the neighboring countries which surround Armenia, and then gradually moved to the global powers, which I think was incredibly insightful, just to see Armenia in the context of some bigger countries who one way or another can influence its own well-being. And I would like to thank every organizer, every participant. I think that it was a very great experience, especially in these kind of difficult times, I would say. It was just a highlight of my everyday meeting with you all. And I think that if there was an opportunity to create a similar or maybe a little bit different summer school in the future, I would love to join anytime. And I think that it was such a great time spent with you all, and especially all the people who give their speeches. I saw so much passion and knowledge in all of them, especially when we talk about the Nagorno-Karabakh conflict. I think that it was one of the highlights of our summer school, just because it was such an insightful and meaningful speech to everyone present. And I definitely got a deeper understanding and knowledge of what is happening, what has happened in that particular aspect of Armenian geopolitics. So thank you very much for this experience. It definitely was one of the highlights of my year. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Maria, for those wonderful comments. Now, Gohar has a comment or a question. Gohar?
Yes. Hello, I hope you can hear me well. I'm outside, so I hope my voice is okay. Yeah, I think first of all, I would really thank you, Mr. Derpian, for kind of as a rector and as a university, allowing this to happen. And I'm also like thankful for all the work for the event administratively. And sorry, can you hear me? Can just someone note if you hear me? Okay, sorry. Yeah, and I think like the whole mission of the summer school and the vision was a pretty great one. And I've been in touch with my friends in Armenia who also kind of, they were like, oh yeah, like, can you like tell us more about this? Because this type of content is really rare to learn. So I think like, I personally would see like more place of promoting this and reaching out with this content to also young people in Armenia. And my question would be, as a rector who is leading the university and is very much aware of the higher education in Armenia, would you say that your university, but also other universities in Armenia, are they really kind of you know, aligned with such a vision of like making Armenia a sustainable country? Do you see this type of mission actually being targeted by our higher education? And if yes, no, could you like elaborate a little bit on it and give some advice or guidance or your perspective? Thank you very much.
Mr. Darpinian, I think the question was addressed to you, and maybe you just want to take a few minutes to respond, and then we can continue.
Okay, I would respond to 3 points which have been raised here. First, which Kyle has raised about the concept of small, so-called small states of being together and contributing to the better understanding of the world. Of course, this is a great initiative, and we publicly, academically will support this idea, which Armenian president have raised with many other leaders of the of so-called small countries, but I would not call them small. They are, I mean, this is not a point of a size. This is a point of their abilities to give something. If you are ready and if you have something to share with the other world, then you cannot be small. The countries which are not big powers, this could be understood. Yes, we're not big powers, but still we can be very important in keeping the stability in the world and the balance of the world. Of course, the Korean experience and Korean culture could be very important in taking this initiative, and Korea being with us in that concept, I think would be a great a point of a great importance. Second point about our soft power, yes, again, I don't like the terminology of hard power, soft power, which was originally based on ideology. But there's no ideology at all. We have to use our tools and our potential of a global nation, as I told you, to bring the world more closer to each other, having these opportunities. I mean, we have a great diaspora. We have in each and every country there are successful Armenians who can play a great role in bringing these cultures together. This is how I see, but I would not call it as a soft power, because we have nothing to ideological to get bigger. We don't have this kind of ambition of getting bigger as a country or a nation. We have something and many things to share, and by sharing we are getting richer, not bigger. We get more reach than more peak. And the question which Gohar raised about the future of Armenia as a center of education, you know what, we have already we have created a great base for education. Different types of educational cultures are represented here. There's an American university, Russian university, European university, French university, Armenian university, technological university, medical university, whatever you want. I mean, there's agriculture, now it's growing, the agricultural and earth science, which is very important for Armenia at this stage of development, because we see Armenia as Armenia's future as ecologically clean center of production of agricultural goods. So there is already a range of possibilities, and we are going in this direction. I think it's a very good and right direction to have these alternatives and choice and many type of choices. And I always stimulate myself, my students, having bachelor studies, having finished the bachelor studies in my university, I'm stimulating them to go to American university to have a different type of an experience there, to get masters there, or vice versa. I always welcome the participants from American or French university or from Armenian university to come to the Russian university for continuation of the education, having masters with us. So it's great to have the same, to have the possibilities of having this experience, being in the country, within the country, not going outside. So you can get American education being in Yerevan, and you can get the Russian education being in Yerevan. This is great, and you can share this. Complement. It's complementary to each other. You know, it's not contradictory. It's complementary. It's great. And I think this is one of the great opportunities which have been developed in the country during all these decades, at least 25 to 30 years. And it's great, it's working. So I'm sure that it will be continuing, and Armenian Russian University is the most international university in the country, having for about 35% of our students representatives from other countries, citizenship of Russia, citizenship of Georgia, other countries of CIS. We have students from Israel. We had actually last year we had from the United States. We have Indians, we have Chinese, we have Persians from Iran. Many nations are represented in the university, and that we are happy with that, because it's a type of sharing, it's a type of getting new experience, and it's great. Thank you.
So Aram Mardirosyan, some comments and thoughts and ideas to share.
Hi, thank you so much for this incredible series of lectures. I found it profoundly exciting because of the fact that I had been so distant from Armenian politics for most of my life. I initially had little to engage with, or hadn't heard enough to really feel inspired to engage with it. And then much of the framework that I had got from schools and colleges would usually revolve around how do we emphasize the decisions of great powers, and then how do we understand the decisions of great powers in what are supposedly small states, right? And so then that meaning that most other countries are just battlegrounds for larger powers, and that's the primary reason that you would learn about them, at least in terms of international relations. So I found it fascinating to see how much agency Armenia actually has in affecting regional and global affairs, and how it can actually advocate for itself and for other regions. And I found a lot of this very fruitful, absolutely, and I think I would want to integrate it into work that I do in the future. A couple of things I was thinking about in terms of the course was, I think, for just as like a suggestion, I would hope that before each lecture, students could at least get some preliminary readings, and I think short articles would be the best way to start, just to give all the students some sort of framing, especially if they're going to like ask questions or have like maybe, or if they want certain ideas to be elaborated, especially in the contemporary context. And then I think something that I also really appreciate about this course, I just remembered, was that it has a very international perspective, even if it's using one country as a lens. I think it has like a very internationalist perspective, and something that I would want to learn more about through a course like this is how popular movements or organizations or just groups of people that exist outside of the state. I would want to learn more about that in terms of how to actually organize on the global stage, because there seems to be a lot of reliance on making sure that states cooperate well and that states do effective policy and good work. But a lot of history, in my opinion, is told through the changes and movements and shifting ideas of groups of people. And so, I mean, that would just be something I would want more integrated, although I think this course did do a lot of good work in that regard. Yeah, I think that's primarily it. Thank you so much for this again. It's been probably my favorite thing that I got to do during COVID.
Thank you, Aran. Arthur, and then Marina.
I'd first like to extend my word of gratitude to the former Prime Minister for his insight, to Barak and Ruben for your organizational efforts. Obviously, this course was on the foreign policy of Armenia, so much of what we discussed was sort of centered around, even if we didn't say it explicitly, Yerevan. I wanted to ask how we could envelop the regions in our efforts, because I've noticed in my trips that they seem to be dwindling year upon year as Yerevan gets more vibrant. Thank you.
Okay, Mr. Darpinian, do you want to address that, or we can?
I think, yeah, it's a good point. I mean, we have to bring more people from surrounding countries, from neighboring countries. We have to maybe enhance our discussions into regional issues, regional challenges, because it's a great question. In Armenia, during the Soviet life, we were counted as Caucasus. On Russian, I mean, it's Закавказье. Я не знаю, как это переводится, Ruben. Закавказье. After Caucasus. Transcaucasus, maybe Transcaucasus. And there was a joke during Soviet life when Armenians said to Russians, it's not we, Transcaucasian country, it's you, Transcaucasian country, because we look, if we stand the center here from Armenia, we look to Russia, you are located after Caucasus. Yeah. But again, after getting independence, we were counted by the international politics as South Caucasus countries, and being unified with Georgia and Azerbaijan. But both historically, culturally, and also mentally, we might be much more closer to the Middle East rather than to Caucasus. Armenia is a great Christian civilization of the Middle East. And here where we got our roots from. And it's a great question. So when we speak, when we think and when we speak about possible involvement of regional participants, we have to think about, of course, about neighboring countries, but also we have to think about Middle East, Lebanese, for example. I mean, it's a great, great collaborative country with us, and it's a great. I mean, we were shocked with this event which happened there several days ago, and Armenians, all the nation and the government, I mean, we are ready to do whatever we can in order to help these people, because we're very close mentally and politically also. And it's a good point, and we have to tackle this issue, I think, Ruben, in the future, to bring more regional participants into the discussion.
And
thank you.
Just to add one little point, I think what Arthur said also ties in with what Aram said about the social movement. So the main idea of the school was to project how Armenia sees the world from Yerevan, France.
Yeah.
For the future, we can focus more on the internal level, that the social movement, the diversity versus Mars, the region's relations. So these are all developed and turned into a summer school, hopefully next year or maybe even sooner.
Yeah. So, okay.
Luana, I think, has also, no?
I guess there is a comment or question from Marina.
Marina, not Luana, sorry.
Thanks for giving me a word. First of all, I would like once again to thank the team of organizers for organizing such an interesting course. It was a great opportunity to participate remotely and learn a lot, even though you're just sitting at home in front of your computer. Thanks a lot for such opportunity. I'm also thankful for bringing as lecturers a lot of people who are actually working in the government of Armenia, in the government of Artsakh. I think it's a great opportunity to hear people who are deeply connected with the issues raised in our school. Some participants of our school were active, some were not, but I think we all learned a lot through these 2 weeks. And for me, each day, knowing that today I'm going to learn something new was, I think it was great. Thank you a lot for that. And I've heard that in future you're going to have a Russian component of the school. And I'm, as being active participant of Armenian diaspora of Moscow, I'm ready to promote the school and get you up a list of new listeners. So I hope we're going to keep in touch. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you, Marina.
Thank you, Marina. And maybe just some concluding thoughts and comments. First of all, on behalf of the organizers, we would like to thank Mr. Dalpinian again for joining us today and giving us this opportunity. And my colleague Ruben for being at the top of this organization and organizing everything. And to you all, extremely rich and intellectually stimulating experience. I think all of us learned a lot from each other's work, learned about each other's interests. Hopefully that will complement each other's work in the future. I think there are a lot of perspectives to be shared. Each one of us is coming from a very different cultural, intellectual, social background. So this brings a very rich and very stimulating diversity to our summer school. And hopefully you guys enjoyed it as much as we did. We will send out a survey, an anonymous survey, and we would like you to just fill it out after we're done so that we can have a general feedback on what to improve and how to proceed in the future. If you have any technical comments, logistical comments, we would very much like to hear your thoughts about that, what you would like to have seen, or maybe what you missed or what we missed. It was on our mistake. So anything you want to share, please feel free to write it in the anonymous survey. And as for any technical details, we will send out the certificates once they're ready, and we will be in touch. In case there are any other questions, issues, or maybe my colleague Ruben wants to add anything, just feel free. The floor is all yours.
Yeah, thank you, Varak. First of all, I would like to thank Professor Darpinyan for enabling this school and supporting us in the process. Thank you very much. At the same time, I would like to thank the participants. Uh, any school is impossible, and it's impossible to make it effective without effective participation of the participants. And it was really great to see how engaging you were with all your questions, with all your comments, with all your very active participation. So it was, guys, really great having you with us. At the same time, I would like to thank Varak as a team member, and also Ruzana Rapetova and Karina Biseda. So it was our main team. So we worked together to make it through. So again, as Varak told, we're going to be back to you with some feedback form to ask for your opinion. At the same time, we're going to share with you some reading list, so you can consult whenever you need, let's say, some information on Artsakh issue or on Armenian foreign policy. And yes, with regard also to certificates, we're going to consult your participation, and as agreed, so you had the chance for 2 absences. So, and after we check this, we are going also to deliver the certificates. So once again, thank you very much. It was a great, great pleasure working with you all, guys, and hope to see you during our upcoming events. And if any of you are in Yerevan, so feel free. So we have a WhatsApp group, so feel free to drop a message just to catch up, talk about foreign politics or in general. That was pleasure. Take care. Professor Darpinyan, any last?
Thank you. Thank you all. Good luck to all.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Take care. Good luck.